Kani gadega Puthi TV, bat pidang pet yaki kubor baman kasngi.
Henne kasngi ka khatlai terik unailar, ka Women's College Shillong, ka Pynlong ya ka met jong ka Jingïatai, halor ka phang pedang ka balabo akaktin English, ka baong Challenge and Reform in Higher Education. Ya ka ni Jingïatai la Pynlong ha ka auditorium jong ka nehi ka college, ya ka balapnya da way ni ginong thok kobor ubala kamrem ha ka ni kam, u aner ban roy u bana Guwahati. Kat bagi sangur kiro shampang pat ki balawan banyatai halor ka phang padang ka balabo ikan top ya ka way ni kino hikai jong ka English department na ka school ba North Eastern Hill University ka Professor S Bhattacharjee u principal barem jong ka Women's College u Dr D Chaudhary u AS Goha na ka IGNU bat u menteri sarkar barem jong ka sarkar Meghalaya u ba RG Lingdo.
The products of higher education are the products of a previous generation of young men and women who went to school. And unless we work out some contiguous channels in education, rather than only classifying education as higher education or research education, or for that matter school education, I think we might miss the wood for the trees. Because we will have to understand constantly that what has happened at the basic level. We talk a lot about dropouts and try to address the issue of dropouts. But the question is, what do we do to bring back these dropouts into mainstream education? Or do we just leave them like that and then bemoan the fact that they are source of social evils? What I am actually trying to get at, maybe I have not been very successful, is that whenever we talk about higher education imperatives, we have a past to fall back upon. And that, loosely speaking, is attributed to school education. So we look at the products, forgetting the fact that those who are now trying to meet its challenges by getting admission have been lucky enough to come to that level. Or those who come to it are, in quotes, weak students. That is because we, I think, forget that basically, a point that Dr. Chaudhary has touched upon, basically education is to foster a student-oriented growth rather than looking at institutions which boast of teachers having degrees from Harvard and Oxford. Can we do that? Can we for some time focus on that individual, the student, the learner, as it is sometimes called, and see how we look at the needs of the learner? Dr. Chaudhary has touched upon it in the last part of his, views. In other words, then education, higher education in this context, as we are discussing higher education, should be more learner focused. Or can it be? How is it going to be? Professor Shukalpat talked about the use of technology. Yes, but is it wiping out the face of the teacher? In between, of course, comes the teacher as a mediator. The propeller who plays such a key role. But what about the learner? How do we address those needs? And those needs go beyond the classroom. those needs are an extension of the four walls of the classroom. We forget that in always trying to psych ourselves into discussions on reforms, innovation, pedagogy. We forget that here we have learners, students who are lonely. And it is exactly here that I have a quarrel with institutions like the UGC, which do not seem to understand alternative exposures for the student.
I feel that our education system is a hangover of the colonial system. I believe that. If there's one sector that hasn't changed at all since our British Raj, it's our education sector. I'm sorry to say that. In fact, I even question the relevance of our higher education system in today's times. And the reason that I say that is, we concentrate a lot on giving knowledge to the youth, but we don't concentrate on giving them the wisdom on how to use that knowledge properly. And I think that is the biggest gap. Another thing is, do we really encourage dissent in the education system? Because I feel that, if we haven't grown much, it's because we don't encourage dissent. We want students to just follow that, that path that has been laid down. And that's why, in fact, we are still suffering from the hangover after 70 years of independence. Primarily because we have not encouraged dissent. We have not asked people to question. We have not asked them, we do not allow them to think beyond a certain level. We want them to stay within certain gates. And that, I think, is the biggest problem with our education system. If our education system is so good, and if we also claim that our economy in India is primarily an agricultural economy, then I would have thought that agriculture in India would have been better than the agriculture in almost any other country. But unfortunately, I don't find it so. I think our education system only encourages migration from rural to urban areas. And as a result, our rural areas have remained stagnant since independence. I think most of us will agree with that. There hasn't been much progress in the rural sector at all. And I think it's because our education system actually encourages people with good brains, people who can really think, to move away from the rural sector and come into the urban sector. And I think that is the biggest problem that we have. Another factor about our education system is that we don't, we keep on hearing that we have a lot of people who are not employed, but the problem is not only that they're not employed, but they're not employable. Now, I'm sure our education system should be looking into how we can make our youth more employable, more relevant in the present times. And I think our education system has not been able to address this at all.